Alma's scream tore through the night as she stumbled backward, the glass cup in her hand shattering against the tiled floor. Her chest rose and fell in sharp, panicked bursts as she pressed her back against the wall, staring at the front door of her dimly lit apartment. The knock had been heavy, deliberate, not the casual tap of a neighbor or a delivery rider. It was the kind of knock that carried intention, authority, claim. The rain outside hammered aggressively against the balcony railings, lightning flashing briefly and illuminating the living room. Alma swallowed hard, pulse racing, hands trembling as she edged toward the door. She wasn't expecting anyone. Certainly not at 3 a.m., not after everything that had happened that week, not after the picture she had foolishly sent to the wrong man. Her fingers shook as she reached for the peephole. She hesitated, took a breath, looked, and immediately froze. A tall man stood perfectly still in the corridor. Black suit, drenched from the rain, hair slicked back, expression unreadable. His face was sharp, beautifully sculpted, but terrifyingly calm. His dark eyes were fixed on her door like he could see straight through it. Straight into her, Ji-hwan Ryu, the Korean Mafia heir she had accidentally sent her intimate photo to 2 days ago. Her body went cold. His lips moved slowly, calmly, like he had all the time in the world. Even through the door, she heard the low, steady command in his voice. "Amma, open the door." Amma stumbled away from the entrance, breath shaking, heart sprinting beneath her ribs. Tears gathered in her eyes, and she covered her mouth to stifle a sob. This couldn't be happening. She had blocked him, ignored him, tried to forget his messages, tried to convince herself he wouldn't bother with someone like her, someone small, someone irrelevant. But he came. She squeezed her eyes shut, trying to think, trying to breathe, but her mind spiraled back to the moment everything began, 2 nights earlier, when her life was still normal. Aman Wokorye was many things: talented, hardworking, stubborn, and painfully lonely. Lagos felt too big and too loud sometimes, especially when her small fashion business barely paid the bills. She lived with her cousin, Zena, in a cramped 2-bedroom apartment in East Marina, where electricity was unreliable and neighbors fought loudly over petty issues. But it was home, and she was trying. She had spent that evening dressing up for a private photo session, her hair curled, lips painted a deep wine red, silk robe tied loosely around her waist. She wanted to feel beautiful, wanted to remind herself she wasn't invisible, that she could still be seen, desired, admired. She had taken a bold photo of herself in the robe, slipping it slightly off one shoulder. Her expression soft, yet daring. The lighting was perfect. The shot was perfect. It was meant for Toby. Toby Adekunle, the annoyingly fine, annoyingly detached gym instructor she had been emotionally attached to for months. He responded to her messages when he felt like it, praised her beauty only when convenient, and treated her with just enough attention to keep her chasing him. Zena always warned her not to waste energy on him, but Amma was stubbornly hopeful. She selected his name on her WhatsApp list, or so she thought. Her phone froze for a moment, glitched, lagged. She tapped again. Sent. The satisfaction lasted 3 seconds, right until she saw the name on the chat. Mr. Ryu Ji-hwan, business contact. Her heart dropped into her stomach. Amma stared at the screen, whispering, "Oh God! Oh God, no, 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 no." She tried to delete it before it was delivered, but the ticks turned blue instantly. Then a message came in. "Is this for me?" Amma nearly threw her phone across the room. Her hands trembled violently. She typed with shaky fingers. "I'm so sorry. Wrong chat. That was meant for someone else. Please ignore it." 3 dots appeared immediately. "I didn't expect such boldness from you." She paced the living room, panicking. "It's not boldness, it's a mistake. Please delete it." Another message. "Where are you right now?" Amma let out a strangled cry and blocked him immediately. Zena came out of her room half asleep, confused and annoyed, and Amma explained everything in a rushed, frantic whisper. Zena's face went pale. "Are you mad? Ji-hwan Ryu? The man rumored to be connected to Samhwa Syndicate? That man?" Amma could barely breathe. "I didn't know it was him. I never even saved his number myself. Someone sent it to me for a potential job months ago." Zena grabbed her shoulders. "We will pretend this didn't happen. Just delete everything and don't text any stranger ever again." Amma tried. She really tried. But the next day, a black sedan appeared on their street. Parked, silent, watching, she told herself it was coincidence. Then she received a package with no sender name. Inside was a single red rose. Then she answered a spam call, only to hear a man whisper in a Korean accent, "Amma." She threw her phone and burst into tears. Zena insisted she was imagining things. "You're stressed. You work too hard. That man doesn't have time for you." But Amma knew. She felt it in her bones. Someone was watching her, someone precise, someone patient, someone dangerous. And now here he was, at her door, at 3 a.m. rain dripping from his suit, eyes dark, expression unreadable. Knuckles tapping the door again, 3 slow knocks that vibrated straight through her spine. "Amma," he said again, his voice calm, deep, devastatingly firm. "Open the door." Amma covered her mouth as a sob escaped. Her legs trembled, her heartbeat thundered, her mind screamed for her to run, hide, vanish, but her feet refused to move. She could feel him standing there, waiting, like she belonged to him already, like the photo she sent wasn't a mistake to him, but an invitation, and he had accepted. Amma pressed both palms against her ears as if that could silence the thunder outside, silence her heartbeat, silence the reality standing right behind her door. She wanted to scream for Zena, but her voice refused to come out. She wanted to call someone, anyone, but her hands shook too violently to even hold her phone. She wanted to pretend none of this was happening, but the man outside wasn't a hallucination. He was too real, too dangerously real. "Amma," he called again, softer this time, like he was coaxing a frightened animal. "I know you're awake." She whimpered. How did he know? Lightning flashed again, illuminating the narrow corridor through the peephole. Amma forced herself to look again, just to make sure, just to confirm her nightmare was tangible. Ji-hwan hadn't moved an inch. He stood with an unsettling level of stillness, like he was carved out of shadow and rain. His eyes were fixed on her door with quiet patience. No irritation, no rush, no anger, just certainty. The certainty of someone used to being obeyed. Amma felt her throat tighten. She backed away slowly, step by step, until her legs hit the arm of the couch. She sank into it, hugging herself tightly as tears rolled down her cheeks. Her phone buzzed. She jumped violently, then grabbed it with shaking fingers. A new message from an unknown Nigerian number. "Amma, open the door!" She let out a small cry, shaking her head over and over. No, 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 this couldn't be happening. He shouldn't have been able to find her. Her number, her street, her apartment, her name. She wasn't important. She wasn't wealthy. She was just a struggling Lagos girl trying to survive. Why would a man like him bother with someone like her? Her phone vibrated again. "I won't hurt you." Amma swallowed hard, whispering, "Liar!" Another message came instantly. "If I intended harm, your door would already be open." She covered her mouth again, stifling a broken sob. The terrifying thing was, she believed him. He didn't come to kill her. He came for something else. She didn't know what was worse. The knock came again, gentler this time, as if he didn't want to scare her further. She almost laughed hysterically, too late for that. Her fear had deepened into her skin, crawling through her veins, settling inside her bones. "I won't leave," he said calmly through the door. "Not until you speak to me." Amma trembled. Every instinct screamed at her to stay quiet, stay hidden, pretend she wasn't home, but he already knew she was inside. She felt seen, exposed, trapped. The walls of the apartment felt smaller, tighter, like the air itself was being pulled toward him. Suddenly, Zena's bedroom door creaked open. Amma nearly fainted from relief. Zena stepped out cautiously, rubbing her eyes. "What's going on? Why are you crying? Who's knocking like that?" Amma shook her head violently, grabbing Zena's arm. "Don't go near the door. Please, please don't. He's here." Zena blinked in confusion. "Who?" Another knock came, sharp, commanding. Zena jumped back. Amma whispered shakily, "Ji-hwan, he found me." Zena stared at her, horrified. "You're joking!" Amma shook her head as more tears fell. "He's right there." Zena tiptoed to the peephole despite Amma's whispered begging. One look and she stumbled backward, hand slapped over her mouth. "Oh my God," Zena whispered. "Amma, what did you do?" Amma choked on her breath. "It was a mistake." "Why is he here?" Zena hissed. I don't know. I swear I don't know." Zena grabbed her shoulders, eyes wide with panic. "Does he want the picture?" Amma shook her head violently. He wants me. The knock returned. This time he spoke quietly, but his voice carried through the door like heat. Amma, you're not alone. I can hear both of you. Zena flinched. Amma felt her soul leave her body. He continued, you don't need to be afraid of me. Zena scoffed, terrified but defiant. Are you mad? A whole MAFIA heir is outside at 3 a.m. and he's saying not to be afraid? She turned to Amma urgently. We need to call the police. Amma grabbed her wrist. And say what? That a foreign billionaire is standing outside my house because I sent him a... She couldn't even say it. Zena groaned in despair. Amma, this is bad. Really bad. As if he heard them, and he probably did, Jihuan spoke again. I can wait all night. Zena stared at the door like it was a demon. He's not leaving. Amma hugged herself. I know. Do you want to talk to him? Zena asked quietly. No, Amma whispered, shaking her head frantically. But if he stays there, people will notice. Neighbors, landlord. Her breath hitched. Zena, we can't have drama in this building. They'll throw us out. Zena's terror deepened. So what do we do? Amma wiped her tears with trembling fingers, forcing air into her lungs. I'll talk to him, just for 1 minute. Zena grabbed her arm. Are you insane? I won't open the door fully, Amma whispered. Just a crack. Just to get him to leave. I can do that. Zena shook her head, desperate. Amma, this man is dangerous. Amma stared at the door. I know. But something inside her, fear, curiosity, desperation, she wasn't sure, pulled her forward. She took slow, trembling steps toward the entrance. Every inch felt like walking toward fire. She stopped right behind the door, her heart shaking so violently she felt it in her throat. She inhaled shakily, then whispered, I'm here. Silence. Then his voice, so close it made her flinch. Open the door, Amma. Zena shook her head violently from behind, mouthing, don't do it. But Amma's hand reached for the lock anyway, as if no longer controlled by her. She opened the door 2 inches. Only 2. But it was enough. Jihuan's face appeared in the crack, drenched, intense, eyes locked on hers with a mix of curiosity and possessive heat that made her knees nearly buckle. Amma gasped softly. He didn't smile, he didn't blink, he simply said, in a voice that broke her breath, You ran from me. And Amma knew this was only the beginning. Amma's stomach twisted, her legs threatening to give out, but she held herself upright, gripping the edge of the doorframe like it was the only thing keeping her from collapsing. The rain ran down his perfectly sculpted face, highlighting sharp cheekbones and piercing dark eyes that seemed to read every hidden fear, every secret thought she had ever had. He didn't look angry. He looked amused. Predatory amusement. I didn't run, she whispered, her voice barely audible. Shh, he interrupted softly, almost a tease. No need for lies now, not between us. Amma's pulse skyrocketed. Between them. Us? The words reverberated inside her skull. Us? She breathed, shaking her head, eyes wide with disbelief. I don't even know you. His gaze didn't falter. I know more than you realize. His hand rested lightly on the doorframe, close enough to touch her, yet not overstepping. The space felt charged like a storm ready to break. Please, just leave, she whispered, fear and panic coiling in her chest. I made a mistake. That's all. A mistake, he repeated, voice low, rich with intent. Some mistakes have consequences, Amma. Yours has consequences. Amma shook her head violently. I didn't mean it. Please, I'm begging you. Jihuan tilted his head, studying her. Meaning doesn't matter. Action does. He paused, then whispered, almost cruelly, And you acted. The air between them was electric. Amma's heart thudded in her chest, each beat louder than the last. She was shaking uncontrollably now, tears streaming down her face, rain dripping onto her bare shoulders beneath the thin robe she had hastily wrapped around herself. You don't understand, she gasped, her voice breaking. You're dangerous. I can't... I know, he interrupted again, calm as a predator circling prey. And yet, here you are, talking to me. Amma's chest heaved. She wanted to slam the door to run, to disappear, but she couldn't. Something about his presence rooted her in place, terrified, yet helplessly drawn. You have questions, he said, voice softer now, almost a whisper against the rain. And so do I. But we will talk soon. Not here. Not like this. What do you want from me? She asked, her words trembling. I want your attention, he replied simply, and your honesty. The kind of honesty no one else asks for. Amma's stomach turned at the audacity. Honesty? You're standing at my door. He raised a hand and Amma flinched. Dangerous, yes, but I am not here to hurt you. Not physically, anyway, not yet. I am here because you've awakened something in me. Something I don't usually feel. Her mind spun. Who was this man? Why did he scare her and enthrall her at the same time? Before she could respond, her phone buzzed again. She jumped, glancing at the screen. Another message from an unknown number. I'm waiting. Don't shut the door completely. That's all I ask for now. Amma shook her head. This is insane. I need to leave. I need help. Help? Ji-hwan's eyebrow quirked. You already have it. From me. She swallowed hard. Her pulse was out of control. She didn't understand how a single man could command this much fear and attraction simultaneously. You're dangerous, she whispered, voice hoarse. Do you always get what you want? He smiled faintly, just enough to unsettle her. Sometimes, but I always get what I'm interested in. His eyes held hers, unblinking. And now, I am interested in you. Her knees nearly gave out. She gripped the doorframe harder, leaning into the wall for support. The storm outside raged, the sound of rain hammering against the balcony mixing with the pounding of her own heart. Ji-hwan's voice dropped lower, almost a growl. Do you understand what you've done, Amma? Not just sending that photo, but inviting me into your world, whether you meant to or not. I didn't invite you, she stammered, panic overtaking her body. I didn't even know it was you. He interrupted her, quiet but firm. Intentions are meaningless when consequences follow. Amma's tears fell faster now. I can't handle this. Maybe, he said softly, but you don't have to handle it alone. Not yet. I will guide you, and you will learn the rules. She stared at him, disbelief etched on her face. Rules? Yes, he said, tilting his head slightly, watching her reactions. Rules you will learn because you are now part of something bigger than you realize. Her chest tightened. I am not part of anything, she cried. I'm just me. Exactly, he replied, which is why you are interesting. Amma couldn't breathe. The words, the intensity, the sheer force of him. It was too much. Her emotions were spiraling, fear, curiosity, attraction, dread, all tangled together in an overwhelming knot she couldn't untie. Please, I need to know, she whispered, voice cracking. Why me? Why now? Ji-hwan stepped back slightly, giving just enough distance to tease, to provoke. Because you are not like the others, he said quietly. You are unpredictable, alive, not afraid to make mistakes. Amma shook her head, trying to wrap her mind around the words. I don't want this. I don't want you. Yet you opened the door, he interrupted softly, almost smiling. And you are talking to me. Fear and desire are close, Amma, and right now, they are tangled inside you. She could barely comprehend the conversation, each word twisted deeper into her mind, leaving her trembling, terrified, captivated. Then he reached into his coat pocket and pulled something small, velvet, blackened by rain. A single bracelet, her bracelet, lost 2 days ago. You dropped this, he said simply. Amma's breath caught. How did you... I told you, he said, voice low and soft. I notice things, I watch, I remember. She looked at the bracelet in shock, then back at him, heart racing with fear and a strange flutter she couldn't name. He had been watching her, all along, long before the photo, long before tonight. Her world tilted, every instinct screamed at her to run, every emotion screamed at her to stay. You, she began, voice barely audible. You've been watching me? Ji-hwan nodded, expression unreadable. Long before that photo, long before you realized it, now... You are mine attention, Amma, for tonight, and perhaps... beyond. Amma's breath caught. She didn't know what that meant. Did she want to know? Did she even have a choice? The storm raged on, rain hitting the balcony like a drumbeat. Lightning flashed, illuminating his unwavering gaze, and Amma, trembling, drenched, heart-pounding, realized with cold clarity that her life had changed forever. Amma stumbled back into her apartment, breathing hard as Ji-hwan stepped inside without asking. He didn't push the door. She had stepped back far enough that it simply drifted open, and he crossed the threshold like he had always belonged there. Her hands trembled as she clutched her robe, trying desperately to cover herself. The thin fabric had already soaked from the rain, clinging to her skin. "You shouldn't be here," she whispered, backing away as he shut the door behind him. "I didn't invite you." "You opened the door," he replied calmly, taking slow steps forward. "That's invitation enough." Amma swallowed hard. No, it's not. You can't just walk into someone's home." "I can," he said gently, "and I just did." Her breath came in shallow bursts. She felt cornered, yet some small, irrational part of her felt strangely safer with him inside than leaving him out there in the darkness. She hated that part of herself. She hated that she didn't understand what was happening inside her chest. "I don't want trouble," she said shakily. "I don't want any part of whatever your world is." "You already entered it," Ji-hwan said, "the moment you pressed send." "It was an accident." "Life changes on accidents," he murmured. She backed into the edge of the counter, her fingers gripping the cold marble. "Please, just tell me what you want from me." He studied her carefully, his eyes scanning her face with slow precision, like he was memorizing every detail. "Tonight," he said softly, "I only want honesty." Amma's voice cracked. "I am being honest." He moved closer and she stiffened. He didn't touch her, but he tilted his head slightly. "Then why are you trembling?" "Because you're terrifying," she whispered. "And yet," he replied, "you haven't told me to leave." Amma's lips parted, but no sound came out. She wasn't sure she hadn't told him to leave. Had she? Or had she only begged for understanding, for space, for clarity? Her mind was too tangled to know. "Sit," he said, nodding toward the couch. "I'm not—" "Amma," he interrupted, voice still soft but brooking no argument. "Sit." Her legs moved before her mind agreed. She sat slowly, uncertain, clutching her robe. He sat on the armchair opposite her, leaning back casually as if this were a normal conversation between normal people who lived normal lives. "It was just a photo," she said weakly. "People send pictures by mistake all the time. Most people are not me," he replied, "and most women are not you." Amma shook her head. "You keep saying that, like you know me." "I do," he said, "more than you think." She felt a chill slide down her spine. "How? How would you know anything about me? We've never met before tonight." He reached into his coat again, pulling out a folded sheet of paper. He set it on the table between them. Amma stared at it, dread creeping up her throat. "What is that?" she whispered. "Your schedule," he answered simply. Amma's breath punched out of her. "My schedule?" Her voice trembled violently. "How would you even have that?" "I pay attention," he said. "You go to work at 8:20 every morning. You take the same bus. You stop at the same cafe. You buy the same pastry when you're stressed. You visit your friend in Block 14 on Fridays. You avoid the alley behind your building after dark because the lights flicker." Amma felt her chest tighten until she could barely breathe. Tears sprang to her eyes. "You've been watching me. This is too much. You can't do this. You can't just—" "Amma," he said calmly, "I never said I was a good man." The room felt smaller, the air thicker. Amma curled her knees up instinctively, putting some barrier between them. "Why?" she whispered. "Why me?" His answer was immediate. "Because you shine in a place full of shadows." She stared at him, stunned. That wasn't the answer she expected. It didn't even sound like him. Or maybe it did. Maybe this was exactly the kind of thing a man like him would say. Beautiful, terrifying, disarming. "You shouldn't say things like that," she whispered. "Why not?" "Because it's confusing. Because it feels wrong." "Does it?" he asked softly. "Or does it feel dangerous because it feels right?" Amma froze, her breath hitched. She didn't want him to see the effect his words had on her, but she knew he already had. "I don't want this," she said quietly. "You don't know what this is yet." "Then tell me." He leaned forward, elbows resting on his knees, gaze sharp and unwavering. This is a moment that could change everything. For both of us. I didn't choose it, she whispered. Most people don't choose the things that matter, he replied. Lightning flashed behind him through the window, illuminating the room for a heartbeat. He looked carved from shadow and storm. What happens now? Amma asked, barely able to push the words out. He stood slowly and walked toward the door. Her chest loosened with relief, until he turned back and said, You will come with me tomorrow. Amma jolted. What? No, I'm not going anywhere. You are, he said simply. I'm giving you tonight to breathe. Tomorrow, we talk. Properly. She shook her head, panic swelling again. You can't make me. I'm not making you, he replied. I'm telling you what will happen. You may refuse, but I don't think you will. Why would I ever go anywhere with you? He moved closer, close enough that she could feel his presence like heat on her skin. He didn't touch her, but his nearness trapped her breath in her throat. Because part of you, he whispered, wants to know what happens next. Amma's lips trembled. She wanted to deny it, to scream no. But her heart betrayed her, beating too fast, too loud, too uncertain. Ji-hwan reached into his pocket once more and placed a small black card on the table. No name, no number, just a location. 9 p.m., he said quietly. Wear the bracelet. I never said I'd come. You don't need to, he murmured. You will. He walked to the door and opened it. The storm had eased into a soft drizzle. Before stepping out, he turned back and met her eyes one last time. Amma, he said softly, almost tenderly, you sent me something honest, something real. Tomorrow. I expect the same honesty from you. The door clicked shut behind him. Amma sat frozen on the couch, unable to move, unable to think. Her heart pounded so loudly it felt like it shook the room. The bracelet, the one she'd lost, the one he'd somehow found, glimmered in the dim light. She didn't understand him. She didn't understand herself. All she knew was that tomorrow terrified her, and yet, somewhere deep inside her trembling chest, a voice whispered the one thing she didn't dare admit out loud. She wanted to see what would happen next. If you enjoyed this story, please like and hit subscribe. Also drop your comments in the comment section. If you accidentally texted a dangerous mafia boss, what would you do in Amma's situation? Thank you for watching, and see you in the next one.